Hello dear friends, let's discuss about Longinus. Today we are going to discuss or going to study Longinus' treatise or his concept of sublimity. He is a 1st century Greek critic and Scott James called him the first romantic critic. Whereas other critics have pointed out his classical features, means he belongs to classicism. He influenced 18th century critics like Alexander Pope and others. Longinus paved the way for romanticism. We can see the same features, same philosophical ideas or writing ideas in romantic period to what Longinus discussed in his Sublime. The concept of Sublime or the work on the Sublime. His work is on the Sublime. Though the authorship, date of composition and title have been matters of dispute, the critics bestowed Longinus' name for authorship of the work on the Sublime or Perihapsus. So this is another title. He was inspired by Plato and his concepts. And on the Sublime, the work on the Sublime, translated for the first time to English by John Hall in 1652. Do you remember who translated this into English? John Hall in 1652. Here, Longinus is discussing about sublimity, the concept of sublime. What is that? Sublime associated with religious awe, vastness, natural magnificence and strong emotion. What is this religious awe? God has created humans, animals are there, nature is there. If you are looking at all these, you will be surprised. See, a human being has 2 eyes, 2 ears, 1 mouth. Inside mouth there are teeth, a tongue. And to beautify our features, we have hair, eyebrows, and according to personality, cheeks, height, 2 hands. In 2 hands we have 10 fingers. How all this happened? Don't you feel surprised at the creation of God? Animals, dogs are there, and buffaloes are there, tigers are there, lions are there. Each and every animals are playing their role in this universal. So, God's creation makes us surprised. We feel wow at nature, natural pictures. Falls, for example, mountains, eyes, rivers. See, ocean. See, all these creations by the God creates a surprise to a human being, one who can understand, one who can see all these. Alva. So, Manushya adana nodi feel madodrinda, it makes, a human being or an individual surprised. ಅದೇ ಆನಿಮಲ್ಸ್ ಯಾವ ರೀತಿಯಾಗಿ ಫೀಲ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ನಮಗೆ ಅಷ್ಟು ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಮನುಷ್ಯನ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಮಾತಾಡೋಣ. ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ವಾಟ್ ರಿಲಿಜಿಯಸ್ ಆವ್, vastness. Just look at the space. We are discovering every day, every minute, isn't it? There are thousands, millions, billions of miles, and there are uh, uncountable galaxies are there. Just think about our solar system, how all these planets are revolving around the sun. Why that sun is standing in the center? See, this is vastness, natural magnificence, that uniqueness, and strong emotion, that we are expressing our strong emotions while we feel sad, while we feel happy, while we feel anger. We express our strong emotions as well as other creatures in the universe. Right? So this is called sublimity, sublime. So, Alexander Pope, one who was influenced by Longinus and his work, said about Longinus like this in his essay, an essay on criticism. ಸೊ ಅಲೆಕ್ಸಾಂಡರ್ ಪೋಪ್ ತನ್ನ ವರ್ಕ್ ಆದಂತಹ an essay on criticism ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಲಾಂಚೈನಸ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಈ ರೀತಿಯಾಗಿ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ ನೋಡಿ. ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ವೆರಿ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್. ದಿ ಬೋಲ್ಡ್ ಲಾಂಚೈನಸ್, all the nine inspire and bless their critic with a poet's fire. An ardent judge who jealous in his trust, with warmth gives sentence yet is always just, whose own example strengthens all his laws, and he is himself that great sublime he draws. He says about Longinus in his work, an essay on criticism. So what is the sublime and what is the definition of sublime here according to Longinus? Let's see. A certain distinction and excellence in expression. See, this is according Longinus. What is sublime? What is that? A certain distinction and excellence in expression. Sublimity flashes forth at the right moment, scatters everything like a thunderbolt, and at once displays the power of orator in all its plenitude. For example, if I go on read anything like a certain distinction and excellence in expression, sublimity flashes forth at the right moment, scatters everything like a thunderbolt, and at once displays the power of orator in all its plenitude. Do you feel anything? See, there is a variation of intonation and you feel it. When I read something, when I read a poem, when I read a line, you feel it. There is a distinction between ordinary and excellence. If a sentence is very mundane, that doesn't give any impression on the reader. If it includes every intonation, heightened feelings and lowest feelings too, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ತುಂಬ ಉನ್ನತವಾದದ್ದು ಮಾತ್ರ ಅಲ್ಲ, ತುಂಬ ಕೀಳು ಅಂತಂದರೆ ತಪ್ಪಾಗಿ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಬಾರ್ದು. ಕೀಳು ಅಂತಂದರೆ ಲೈಕ್ ಕೆಳಮಟ್ಟದ್ದು ಅಂದರೆ ಫಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ದುಃಖ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳೋಣ. ಓಕೆ, ಆ ಫೀಲಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ಬೇರೆ ರೀತಿಯಾಗಿ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ರೆಸ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ. ಸೊ ದೇರ್ ಈಸ್ ಎ ಡಿಸ್ಟಿಂಕ್ಷನ್, ದೇರ್ ಮಸ್ಟ್ ಬಿ ಎ ಡಿಸ್ಟಿಂಕ್ಷನ್. ಎವ್ರಿಥಿಂಗ್ ಶುಡಂಟ್ ಬಿ ದ ಸೇಮ್, isn't it? ಫಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್, ಇಫ್ ಯು ಆರ್ ಲಿಸ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಎ ಸಾಂಗ್ ಅಲ್ವಾ, ಒಂದು ಯಾವುದೋ ಒಂದು ಸಾಂಗನ್ನು ಕೇಳ್ತಿರ್ತೀರಾ, ಒಂದು ದೇವರ ನಾಮವನ್ನು ಕೇಳಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತೀರಾ, ಒಂದು ರೊಮ್ಯಾಂಟಿಕ್ ಸಾಂಗನ್ನು ಕೇಳಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತೀರಾ, ಅಥವಾ Some other songs ಅಂತ ಇಟ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋಣ. Do all the songs have the same music? No, right? Some like ಒಂದಷ್ಟು DJ songs ಇರುತ್ತೆ. It gives so much energy. It makes audience to feel the so much energy. And melodious songs, they keep calm, right? So there is a distinction in presentation, excellence in expression. Everything should be perfect. There should be creativity. Sublimity flashes forth at the right moment. Do you feel everything like as an excellent feeling? Is it so? Do you cry for everything, or do you laugh at everything? No, right? When you feel that feeling, then only you will laugh. When you feel that sadness, then only you will cry. Or when you look at something beautiful, you say, wow. Right? That is what sublimity flashes forth at the right moment, scatters everything like a thunderbolt, and at once displays the power of orator in all its plenitude. When you read a novel, or when you read a play, or when you watch a movie, whatever for that matter, it scatters everything. You don't feel anything anymore. You feel that sublimity only. For example, a character in a movie, let's take a mother character. When a mother character at the time of war, opposite soldier comes and targeted her child and shot at once, and he left the mother to cry and to cry and to cry till her breath lost. How do you feel at that moment? You start to feel her feelings. You start to empathize her feelings, isn't it? And you forget yourself. If you sit in a movie theater, you start to feel, okay, I am inside, I am in the war field, and I am not anymore who I am, isn't it? For example, I will tell you my own experience. When I visited Shimoga, that too Jog Falls, when I was in 10th standard, okay, I don't know whether okay, so ನಾನು 10ನೇ ಕ್ಲಾಸಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ದಾಗ ಜೋಗ್ ಫಾಲ್ಸ್ಗೆ ಟ್ರಿಪ್ಗೆ ಹೋಗಿದ್ವಿ. ಜೋಗ್ ಫಾಲ್ಸ್ ಅವಾಗ ಮಳೆಗಾಲ ತುಂಬಿ ತುಳುಕ್ತಾ ಇತ್ತು ಅಂತಾನೆ ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದು. ಎಷ್ಟು ಬೋರ್ಗರೆತ, ಎಷ್ಟು ಜೋರಾಗಿ ನೀರು ಬೀಳ್ತಾ ಇತ್ತಪ್ಪ ಅಂತಂದರೆ ಐ ಕಾಂಟ್ ಈವನ್ ಇಮ್ಯಾಜಿನ್ ದಟ್ ನಾವು. ಲೈಕ್ ಐ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಫೀಲ್ ದಟ್, ಬಟ್ ಐ ಕಾಂಟ್ ಈವನ್ ಇಮ್ಯಾಜಿನ್. ಆವಾಗ ಆ ಕೆಳಗಡೆಗೆ ಇಳಿಯೋಕೆ ಅವಕಾಶವನ್ನು ಕೊಡ್ತಾಯಿದ್ರು. ನೀರು ಕೆಳಗಡೆಗೆ ಬೀಳುತ್ತಲ್ವ, ಅಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ಇಳಿಯೋಕೆ ಅವಕಾಶವನ್ನು ಕೊಡ್ತಾಯಿದ್ರು. ಬಟ್ ಇವಾಗ ಅದು ಇದೆಯೋ ಇಲ್ವೋ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ. So we climb down. When we start to climb down, so ಅರ್ಧ ದಾರಿಯಿಂದನೇ we start to feel, it is raining. ಮಳೆ ಬರ್ತಿದೆಯೇನೋ ಅನ್ನೋಷ್ಟು ಫೀಲ್ ಮಾಡೋಕೆ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ವಿ. The moment we get down, the water was falling like anything, and I forget myself that I was surrounded by teachers and my friends and other students. Literally I forgot myself. ಆ ನೀರು ದಬ 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 ಅಂತ ಮೇಲಿಂದ ಬರ್ತಿರೋದು ಎಷ್ಟು ದೊಡ್ಡದಾಗಿ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ, ಆ ನೀರಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು ಮುಳುಗೋಗ್ತಿದ್ದೀನೇನೋ ಅಥವಾ ಪ್ರಳಯನೇ ಆಗ್ತಿದೆಯೇನೋ ಅನ್ನೋಷ್ಟು ಸೌಂಡ್. 3 ಕಡೆ ನೀರು ಜೋರಾಗಿ ಬೀಳ್ತಾ ಇರೋದು. ಕೆಳಗಡೆಯಿಂದ ಮೇಲ್ಗಡೆ ಪ್ರಪಾತವನ್ನು ನೋಡಿದಾಗ ಹೆಂಗೆ ಕಾಣಿಸ್ತಾ ಇತ್ತು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ನಾನು ಅಲ್ಲಿದ್ದೀನಿ ಅನ್ನೋದೇ ನಂಗೆ ಮರ್ತೋಯ್ತು. So that is what sublime feeling. That is what scatters everything like a thunderbolt. ನಿಮ್ಮ ಸುತ್ತಮುತ್ತ ಇರುವಂಥದ್ದು ಎಲ್ಲವೂ ಕೂಡ ಮರೆಯಾಗ್ಬಿಡುತ್ತೆ. Just you feel that sublimity, heightened feeling, and at once displays the power of orator in all its plenitude. Plenitude means all its virtues. So the power of orator plays there. ಸೊ ಬರಹಗಾರನಾಗಿರಲಿ ಅಥವಾ ಪ್ರಕೃತಿಯ ಮ್ಯಾಗ್ನಿಫಿಸೆನ್ಸ್ ಆಗಿರಲಿ ಅಥವಾ ಗಾಡ್ಸ್ ಕ್ರಿಯೇಷನ್ಸ್ ಆಗಿರಲಿ, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಅದು ಡಿಸ್ಪ್ಲೇ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಈಸ್ ವಾಟ್ ಸಬ್ಲೈಮ್ ಅಕಾರ್ಡಿಂಗ್ ಟು Longinus. A certain distinction and excellence in expression. Sublimity flashes forth at the right moment, scatters everything like a thunderbolt, and at once displays the power of orator in all its plenitude. The first and most important source of sublimity is the power of forming great conceptions. He also says the source, ಈ sublimity ಅನ್ನೋದು ಎಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಬರುತ್ತೆ? So that its source is the power of forming great conceptions. If I don't imagine, if I don't have that quality of imagination, of greatness of nature, ಅಲ್ವಾ, ನಾನು ಆ ಪ್ರಪಾತದೊಳಗಡೆ ನಿಂತು ಆ ಜೋಗ ಜಲಪಾತವನ್ನು ನೋಡಿ ಮೆಸ್ಮರೈಸ್ ಆಗಿ ನನ್ನನ್ನೇ ನಾನು ಮರೆಯುವಂಥ ನನ್ನ ಗುಣ ಇರಲಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂದಿದ್ರೆ, ಐ ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಫೀಲ್ ಓಕೆ, ನೀರು ಮೇಲ್ಗಡೆಯಿಂದ ಬೀಳ್ತಾ ಇದೆ, ಸೌಂಡ್ ಕೇಳಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆ, ಅಷ್ಟು ಮಾತ್ರ ನಾನು ಯೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೆ. ಆದರೆ ಐ ಹ್ಯಾಡ್ ದಟ್ ಪವರ್ ಆಫ್ ಇಮ್ಯಾಜಿನೇಷನ್ ಇನ್ ಮೀ, ಇನ್ಸೈಡ್ ಮೀ. ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ವಾಟ್ ಫಾರ್ಮಿಂಗ್ ಗ್ರೇಟ್ ಕನ್ಸೆಪ್ಷನ್, ಕೆಪಾಸಿಟಿ ಟು ಕನ್ಸೀವ್ ಗ್ರೇಟ್ ಐಡಿಯಾಸ್ ಇನ್ ಎ ರೈಟರ್. ಯಾವುದೇ ಒಂದು ಪ್ಲೇ ಆಗಿರಲಿ ಅಥವಾ ಪೊಯೆಟ್ರಿ ಆಗಿರಲಿ, ಏನೇ ಪೀಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಆರ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿರಲಿ, ಸೊ ಅವುಗಳನ್ನು ಬರೆಯುವಂಥ ಆ ರೈಟರಿಗೆ ಇರುವಂತಹ ಕ್ವಾಲಿಟಿ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ, ಅಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಸಬ್ಲಿಮಿಟಿ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಅಂದರೆ ಹೊರಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಆ ಕನ್ಸೆಪ್ಷನ್ ಅನ್ನೋ ಒಂದು ಗ್ರೇಟ್ ಕ್ವಾಲಿಟಿ ಆ ರೈಟರಲ್ಲಾಗಿರಲಿ ಅಥವಾ ಯಾವುದೇ ಒಬ್ಬ ಆಡಿಯನ್ಸಲ್ಲಾಗಿರಲಿ ಇರಬೇಕಾಗತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ he has given the idea of sublime and as well as the source of sublimity. Next, so let's go through the sources of sublimity. So conception ಅನ್ನೋದು ಯಾವುದ್ಯಾವ್ದ್ರ ಮೂಲಕ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. A great quality of imagination, great quality of ಕನ್ಸೀವಿಂಗ್ ಥಾಟ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಐಡಿಯಾಸ್ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ, ಅವುಗಳು ಎಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಬರುತ್ತೆ ಅದನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ಲಾಂಜೈನಸ್ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ವಿವರಣಾತ್ಮಕವಾಗಿ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಒನ್ ಈಸ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಇನ್ನೇಟ್ ಸೋರ್ಸಸ್, ಅನದರ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಈಸ್ ರೆಟರಿಕಲ್ ಸೋರ್ಸಸ್. ಒಂದು ನಮ್ಮೊಳಗೆ ಲೈಕ್ ವಿ ಬಾರ್ನ್ ವಿತ್ ಇಟ್, ದಟ್ ಕ್ವಾಲಿಟಿ ವಿ ಗಾಟ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಅವರ್ ಬರ್ತ್, ಇನ್ನೇಟ್, ನಮ್ಮೊಳಗೆ ಇರುವಂತಹ ಒಂದಷ್ಟು ಗುಣಗಳು, ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ವಾಟ್ ಇನ್ನೇಟ್ ಸೋರ್ಸ್. ಇನ್ನೇಟ್ ಸೋರ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ರೆಟರಿಕಲ್ ಫೀಚರ್ಸ್ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ವಿ ಆರ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಆಡ್, ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಅವರ್ ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟಿವಿಟಿ. ಸೊ ವಾಟ್ ಆರ್ ದಿ ಇನ್ನೇಟ್ ಕ್ವಾಲಿಟೀಸ್ ಆರ್ ಸೋರ್ಸಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಸಬ್ಲೈಮಿಟಿ? ಗ್ರ್ಯಾಂಡ್ಯೂರ್ ಆಫ್ ಥಾಟ್, grandeur of thought. This results from the faculty of conceiving great thoughts. Faculty of conceiving great thoughts. ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲೇ ಆ ಗುಣ ಇರಬೇಕು. ಆ ದೊಡ್ಡದಾದಂತಹ ಇಮ್ಯಾಜಿನೇಷನ್ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಳ್ಳುವಂತಹ ಒಂದು ಆಲೋಚನಾ ಶಕ್ತಿ ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಇರಬೇಕು. ಇಮ್ಯಾಜಿನೇಟಿವ್ ಪವರ್ ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಇರಬೇಕು. ಸಬ್ಲೈಮಿಟಿ ಇಸ್ ದಿ ಎಕೋ ಆಫ್ ಎ ಗ್ರೇಟ್ ಸೋಲ್. It reflects our thoughts. If you are capable of such thought, then you have that grandeur of thought. We can't be an Einstein, ರೈಟ್. ನಾವು ಐನ್ಸ್ಟೀನ್ ಆಗೋಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ. he had his own qualities, that a grandeur of thought. We can't be a Shakespeare, right? ಸೊ ಹಾಗಂತ ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಗ್ರೇಟ್ ಕ್ವಾಲಿಟೀಸ್ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತಲ್ಲ, ಅವರದ್ದು ರೀತಿಯಾದಂಥ ಒಂದು ಗ್ರೇಟ್ ಕ್ವಾಲಿಟೀಸ್ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಿದ್ದೀನಿ. ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಸಚ್ ಎ ಗ್ರ್ಯಾಂಡ್ಯೂರ್ ಆಫ್ ಥಾಟ್ ದೇ ಹ್ಯಾಡ್. ವಿ ಮೈಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಸಚ್ ಕ್ವಾಲಿಟೀಸ್, I don't know. Next innate source is passion. Vehement and inspired passion. So that is pathos. We should have that vehement and inspired passion within us. Capacity to have great emotion. Passion about everything. If you would like to cook, then the outcome will be such a tasty food. If you are not at all interested in it, the outcome is like that, right? So if you want to give your 100%, if you are able to give your 100%, that is what passion. ನೀವು ಇಷ್ಟಪಟ್ಟು ಮಾಡುವಂಥ ಕೆಲಸಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ಯಾಷನ್ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಇನ್ಕ್ಲೂಡಿಂಗ್ ಪ್ಯಾಥೋಸ್. Next one is rhetorical. Rhetorical features. Now, what a writer is going to include to these grandeur of thoughts and passion. Pathos includes that sadness and every kind of emotions. Passion for those emotions. Capacity to have great emotions. So now, rhetorical features, schemata. First one is schemata. Schemata means what? The proper use of figures of speech and thought. The fact that it is a figure is concealed by the splendor of style. So these figures of speech should be concealed. They are not visible. See, for example, if you are going to present a bride, so bride should be beautiful, her beauty should be mesmerized, and that bride has some makeup on her, and she is wearing ornaments, she is wearing a beautiful saree, and she made her hair beautifully, right? So all these are add-on features, but we are appreciating the bride. Instead of that, the ornaments or the makeup or the hairstyle, each and everything is visible instead of a bride. So that is such a waste. If you are looking at each and everything individually or they are visible, that is such a waste. ಸೊ ಒಬ್ಳು ಮದುಮಗಳ ಎಷ್ಟು ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಕಾಣಿಸ್ತಿದ್ದಾಳೆ ಅಂತ ಅಂದರೆ, ನಾವು ಅವಳಿಗೆ ಹಾಕಿರುವಂಥ ಅಲಂಕಾರಿಕ ವಸ್ತುಗಳಲ್ಲಾಗಲಿ ಅಥವಾ ಒಡವೆಗಳು, ಸೀರೆಗಳೆಲ್ಲವನ್ನ ಮರೆತು ಮದುಮಗಳು ಎಷ್ಟು ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಕಾಣಿಸ್ತಿದ್ದಾಳೆ ಅಂತ ಆಸ್ ಎ ಹೋಲ್ ನಾವು ಅವಳನ್ನ ನೋಡಬೇಕೇ ವಿನಃ ಒಡವೆಗಳನ್ನು ಸಪ್ರೇಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಸೀರೆ ಎಷ್ಟು ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿದೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ, ಒಡವೆ ಎಷ್ಟು ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿದೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ, ಅಯ್ಯೋ ಒಡವೆಗಳು ಎಷ್ಟು ಹೊಳಿತಾ ಇದ್ದಾವಲ್ವಾ, ಡಿಸೈನ್ ತುಂಬ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿದೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ, ಹೇರ್ ಸ್ಟೈಲ್ ತುಂಬ ತುಂಬ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ರೈಟ್? ಸೊ ಮದುಮಗಳನ್ನೇ ಮರೆತು ನೀವು ಇದೆಲ್ಲವನ್ನ ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಹೋದ್ರೆ ದೇರ್ ಈಸ್ ನೋ ಸ್ಕಿಮಾಟಾ ಆರ್ ದೇರ್ ಈಸ್ ನೋ ಪ್ರಾಪರ್ ಯೂಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಫಿಗರ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಸ್ಪೀಚ್. ಸೊ ಇಫ್ ದಟ್ ರೈಟರ್ shows his or sublimity in his writing or any kind of art, the figures of speech must be concealed by the splendor of style. For example, a poetry. So you should feel it, the emotions or the poetry as a whole. You are not supposed to feel or you are not supposed to search each and every word. It should be looking natural. It shouldn't be like collecting everything and put together. If you would like to eat biryani, you should eat biryani. It shouldn't be, presented as, chicken as separate, or spices as separate, some vegetables as separate. No, it should be tasted like a biryani. The taste should be there. Right? That is what schemata. ಸೊ ಫಿಗರ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಸ್ಪೀಚ್ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವ್ದಾಗಿರುತ್ತೆ? ಚಿಕನ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ, ವೆಜಿಟೇಬಲ್ಸ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಅಥವಾ ಸ್ಪೈಸಸ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಏನೋ ಮತ್ತೊಂದು ಮಗದೊಂದು ಬಿರಿಯಾನಿಲಿ ಹಾಕಿರುವಂಥ ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದು ಕೂಡ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಆದರೆ ಅವುಗಳು ಸಪ್ರೇಟ್ ಆಗಿ ನಿಲ್ಬಾರ್ದು. ಒಂದು ಸಾಂಬಾರ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಎವ್ರಿ ಟೇಸ್ಟ್ ಶುಡ್ ಬಿ ಮಿಕ್ಸ್ಚರ್ಡ್ ಇನ್ ಇಟ್. ರೈಟ್? ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ವಾಟ್ ಸ್ಕಿಮಾಟಾ. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್, ಅಪ್ರೋಪ್ರಿಯೇಟ್ ಫಿಗರ್ಸ್. ಸೊ he has given some of the figures of speech in his treatise. These are classical figures of speech rather than modern figures of speech. Which are those? Ascenditon. Ascenditon means what? Conjunctions deliberately omitted. I came and I saw and I conquered. Does it effective? No. Omitting all the conjunctions. I came, I saw, I conquered. Right? Alexander says these words. Deliberate omitting all those. Sorry, Julius Caesar. Julius Caesar said these words. I came, I saw, I conquered. So, that is more effective, more sublime. This is one of the figures of speech given by Longinus. Hyperbaton. Disruption of normal word order. For example, we are going to eat food. That is the normal order. Grammatically correct statement. Some rise by sin, some by virtue fall. See? Some fall by virtue or something else. Some rise by sin. See? Can anybody rise by sin? ಪಾಪ ಮಾಡೋದ್ರ ಮೂಲಕ ಮೇಲ್ ಬರ್ತಾರಾ ಅಥವಾ ವರ್ಚು ಮೂಲಕ ಕೆಳಗಡೆ ಬೀಳ್ತಾರಾ? So this gives a different effect. This is from Measure for Measure, Shakespeare's play Measure for Measure. And he has also given periphrasis, hyperbole, polyptota. Sorry. Hyperbole, exaggeration. Periphrasis, roundabout. Polyptota, repetition of a word in different presentation within a sentence. For example, flower. There is a word. Instead of flower, we use fragrance or sweet or joy. Within a sentence, these words are repeatedly used. That is what polyptota. Like this, he has given many figures of speech to make this more grandeur or sublime. Phrases. Next. So sources of, we are talking about sources of sublimity. So first is innate sources, another one is rhetorical sources. So innate sources ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವುದೆಲ್ಲ ಇದೆ? grandeur of thought ಇದೆ and passion ಇದೆ. So rhetorical forces features ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಿದೆ? sources ಅಲ್ಲಿ schemata ಇದೆ, means using of figures of speech and thought. Next one is phrases. Phrases means noble language and diction. Language and diction must be appropriate to the grandeur of thought. For example, in tragedy, you can't use comic words. It should be tragic to make it more effective. So that is what? Appropriate language should be there. In a poetry, you can't use cheap language. Cheap language anta ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ತುಂಬಾ ಕೀಳು ಅಂತ ಅಲ್ಲ. For example, ನಾವು ದಿನ ಬಳಕೆಗೆ ಬಳಸುವಂತಹ ಭಾಷೆಯೇ ಬೇರೆ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಬರವಣಿಗೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಬಳಸುವಂತಹ ಭಾಷೆಯೇ ಬೇರೆ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಅದರಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ಏನು ಕವಿತೆಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಅಥವಾ ಕಾದಂಬರಿಗಳಲ್ಲಿ, ನಾಟಕಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಬಳಸುವಂಥ ಭಾಷೆಯೇ ಬೇರೆ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಇಟ್ ಶುಡ್ ಬಿ ಅಪ್ರಾಪ್ರಿಯೇಟ್. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಹೊಂದಾಣಿಕೆ ಆಗುವಂತಹ ಭಾಷೆಯನ್ನ ಏನು ಬರೆದಿರಬೇಕು ಅಥವಾ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಿರಬೇಕು. ದಟ್ ಶುಡ್ ಬಿ ಅಪ್ರಾಪ್ರಿಯೇಟ್. It should be standard which matches the grandeur of thought. Next, composition. It is harmony in composition that gives definite shape to art. Composition of all these. Okay, you have grandeur of thought, you have passion, you are using schemata also, and you are using noble language. What if you don't know how to put together all these four? Right? You should know how to put together all these things. For example, I said biryani. If you have each and everything, all the ingredients at hand, and you don't know how to make biryani, so that is such a waste. If you would like to taste that delicious biryani, you should put together all the ingredients in a proportionate way. Then only you can taste that deliciousness in that food. That is what composition, final one. Grandeur of thought, GPSPC. Okay, take these letters GPSPC so that you can remember. Next, Longinus on vices of style, and he talks about minus points. While somebody is writing, there are also vices, and we should be careful about those vices. Vices ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ತಪ್ಪುಗಳನ್ನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರಲ್ವಾ, ಸೊ ಆ ತಪ್ಪುಗಳ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ತುಂಬಾ ಎಚ್ಚರಿಕೆಯಿಂದ ಇರಬೇಕು. To avoid or he rejects these features. Okay, he rejects these features. What are these? Turgidity in art, whether it is in writing form or any kind of art. So sublimity ಅನ್ನು ಅಚೀವ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ we should omit all these vices. Turgidity means bombastic, theatrical notions and images. Bombastic, ಬೇಕಾಗಿರೋದಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಸಬ್ಲೈಮ್ ಅನ್ನು ಅಚೀವ್ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ ಬೇಡದಿರೋ ಅಂತ ಹೆಚ್ಚುಗಾರಿಕೆ ವಸ್ತುಗಳು ಪದಗಳನ್ನ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡು ಹೇಳುವಂಥದ್ದು. ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ವಾಟ್ ಟರ್ಜಿಡಿಟಿ. That is pedantry. Then it becomes what to say, meaningless. Then puerility, words over elaborated to express inferior ideas. Over elaboration should be avoided. Parentherosis, overdone, artificial emotional tone. There should be passion, of course. There should be great emotions included. Pathos should be there, but should not be artificial emotional. Then frigidity, expressions unworthy of the thought. It should be true to the expression or emotion. It shouldn't be unmatched. It should match the emotion. That is what frigidity. So these are the vices according to Longinus, and he is suggesting to avoid these four vices in any style. And Longinus' examples of the sublime. He considers these writers as sublime. They achieved sublimity in their work. For example, from poetry he has taken Homer's Iliad and Odyssey, great epic poetry. He achieved sublimity there. Aeschylus' drama achieved that sublimity. Sappho, prose works, Plato, Demosthenes, Herodotus. You know Herodotus, Itihasakara, alva, father of history. So he has, you know, he has taken out these great writers as an example for this sublime concept. Then, effects of the sublime. If a writer inculcates sublimity in his writing, what is the effect? How do the readers or audience feel that? Loss of rationality. So effects of the sublime andre loss of rationality. The sublime leads the listeners not to persuasion but to ecstasy. The readers start to alienate themselves. They don't pursue ideas, they don't think ideas, but they escape from within. They alienate from, their own body or their own mind. ತಮ್ಮಲ್ಲೇ ತಾವು ತಮ್ಮನ್ನೇ ಕಳ್ಕೊಬಿಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಇಫ್ ದೇರ್ ಈಸ್ ರ್ಯಾಷನಾಲಿಟಿ, ಮೇಲಿಂದ ಜಲಪಾತದಿಂದ ನೀರು ಜೋರಾಗಿ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದೆ, ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಇಷ್ಟು ಸೌಂಡ್ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಮಳೆ ಜೋರಾಗಿದೆ, ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಇಷ್ಟೊಂದು ನೀರು ನುಗ್ಗಿ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಸೊ ಆ ರೀತಿ ರ್ಯಾಷನಾಲಿಟಿ ಇದ್ರೆ ಯು ಡೋಂಟ್ ಎಂಜಾಯ್ ನೇಚರ್ ಎಟ್ ಆಲ್ ಅಲ್ವಾ. ರೀಸನ್ ಅನ್ನ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡು ನಾವು ಅದನ್ನ ಮೆಷರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಹೋದ್ರೆ ನಾವು ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವುದೇ ರೀತಿಯಾದಂತಹ ಖುಷಿಯಾದ ಅನುಭವಗಳನ್ನ, ಬೇರೆ ರೀತಿಯಾದ ಅನುಭವಗಳನ್ನ ಅನುಭವಿಸೋಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಆಗಲ್ಲ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಸಬ್ಲೈಮ್ ಅನ್ನೋದೇನ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ, ಆ ರ್ಯಾಷನಾಲಿಟಿಯಿಂದ ಹೊರಗಡೆ ಬಂದು ಫೀಲ್ ಮಾಡುವಷ್ಟು ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ವಾಟ್ ದ ಸಬ್ಲೈಮ್ ಲೀಡ್ಸ್ ದ ಲಿಸನರ್ಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಟು ಪರ್ಸ್ಯುವೇಷನ್, ನಾಟ್ ಟು ಥಿಂಕ್, ಬಟ್ ಟು ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟಸಿ, but to feel that, but to escape from within. That is what the effect of sublime. An alienation leading to identification with the creative process of the artist. When you started to read a poem, you start to enjoy that. You start to identify yourself with that. You forget yourself. Keats's Nightingale. When you are listening to Keats's Nightingale poem, you start to feel that you are listening to the real nightingale on your own instead of reading a poem. As I given an example, a mother is crying in front of the dead body of its child in the war field. You start to cry on your own instead of watching that movie as a movie. ನೀವೇ ನಮ್ಮ ಸಂಬಂಧಿಕರನ್ನೇ ಕಳ್ಕೊಂಡ್ವೇನೋ ಅನ್ನುವಷ್ಟು ಅಳೋಕೆ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ದ ರಿಯಲ್ ಫೀಲಿಂಗ್. So frequently Pahalgam attack was there, Mission Sindoor was there. Everybody felt that cry, everybody felt that sadness, everybody felt that loss. That is what sublimity creates. So a reader starts to identify. There is a song released based on this Pahalgam attack. If you want watch that song, you started to feel that sublimity. You alienate yourself and start to identify with the creation. Writer arouses in his audience a deep emotion mixed with pleasure and exaltation. When I was studying UG, there was inter college competitions. I think ಮಂಡ್ಯ ರಮೇಶ್ ಅವರು ನಿಮ್ಮೆಲ್ರಿಗೂ ಗೊತ್ತೇ ಇದೆ ಅನಿಸುತ್ತೆ. ಮಂಡ್ಯ ರಮೇಶ್ ಅವರ ಮಗಳು ನಮ್ಮ ಕಾಲೇಜಿಗೆ ಒಂದು ನಾಟಕ ಪ್ರದರ್ಶನಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ ಬಂದಿದ್ರು. ದಟ್ಟು ಲೈಕ್ ಏಕಪಾತ್ರಾಭಿನಯ. ಆ ಏಕಪಾತ್ರಾಭಿನಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಅವರು ಆಯ್ಕೆ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದು ರಕ್ತಾಕ್ಷಿ. ಅಂದರೆ ಮ್ಯಾಕ್ಬೆತಿಂದ ಕನ್ನಡ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಲೇಷನ್ ಬಂದು ರಕ್ತಾಕ್ಷಿ. The moment she starts to enact that, I start to forget myself and start to enjoy that act. I start to cry myself. I start to alienate within. When I start to listen to a music, unknowingly I started to cry. After some time, I realized that I was sitting among in the midst of my friends. Then they started to ask, "Hey, why are you crying? Why are you crying?" Then I realized, okay, I am in the field. I am not supposed to cry. That was the performance she has given. Even today, I appreciate that performance. So that is what a writer does. He or she arouses in his audience a deep emotion, whether it is anger, whether it is joy, happiness, or sadness. It is mixed with the pleasure and exaltation. Then the sublime determines the greatness of both the author and the reader. It shows the ಅಂದರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬರವಣಿಗೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ತೋರಿಸಿದ್ರೆ ಮಾತ್ರ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಬರಹಗಾರ ಮಾತ್ರ ಸಬ್ಲಿಮಿಟಿಯನ್ನ ತೋರಿಸಿದ್ರೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಇಲ್ಲ, ರೀಡರ್ಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಅಂಥದ್ದೇ ಒಂದು ಗ್ರೇಟ್ನೆಸ್ ಇರಬೇಕು. ಸೊ ಈ ಸಬ್ಲಿಮಿಟಿ ಏನು ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ, ಆಥರಲ್ಲೂ ಆ ರೀತಿಯ ಗುಣಗಳಿದೆ, ರೀಡರಲ್ಲೂ ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ತಿರುವಂಥ ರೀಡರಲ್ಲೂ ಆ ಗುಣಗಳಿದೆ ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನ ತೋರಿಸುತ್ತೆ. Sublime effects were the desired end of Baroque art. Baroque art and literature. One second. Baroque art and literature. So it shows through the art and literature. That is the end of work of sublimity. That was its aim. So as a whole, Longinus' source or cause of great writing in short review, vigor and nobility of mind or grandeur of thought is there. Strong and inspired emotion or passion is there. The light use of figures of speech is there. Noble diction is there. Means language. It includes metaphors and neologism and etc. The arrangement of words is very much important. That achieves the sublimity. And he has given all these ideas in his work on the Sublime. Don't forget, we are reading all these in his treatise, critical treatise on the Sublime. I have given in the beginning itself the title. So other ideas, what are the other ideas of Sublime? True Sublime is there, false Sublime is there. True Sublime means experiences human limitedness in the face of the limitless. We failed, like we are unable to imagine that face of limitless. True Sublime, the nature. Then false Sublime. False Sublime displaces the limitless or God. So here we are unable to understand the God's creation. In false Sublime, that displaces that limitless or God with a constructed human infinite. For example, technology. That is false. Though there is sublimity, we can understand. So there is like we surprise at technology. We can go to space. We can land on moon. We can land on other planets. Right. So this is the feeling of sublimity. Still, we can understand that. The poet has two aspects, that is genius and acquired art. So one comes from within, another he learns that. The poem has two sides. One is sublimity and technique. So one is innate quality, another one is earned quality. Then pleasure is the immediate end of art. So what is the ultimate aim of the sublimity? That is pleasure. The reader or audience should enjoy that. So after Longinus also the concept of the sublime studied. Many later philosophers and aestheticians have deliberated on the, means discussed on the sublime, the concept of sublime. 18th century philosophers like Edmund Burke and Immanuel Kant talked about the distinction between the beautiful and the sublime. Sublime also has relevance in romanticism. We can see these features in romanticism too. Sublime, beautiful and picturesque. So we have studied so far Longinus and his in his work Longinus's a concept of sublime in his work on the sublime, that is written around 1st century AD, resulting from spirit, a spark from writer to reader. For example, Keats has written Nightingale. So we start to read his work and we start to feel that a spark from a writer to reader rather than technique. So that feeling is transferring. So after Longinus, Edmund Burke, so philosophical inquiry, in his work Philosophical Inquiry into the Origins of Our Ideas of the Sublime and Beautiful, it is his work. And Immanuel Kant also worked on sublime in his work Critique of Judgment. Here they say beauty is finite. There is an end to beauty. The sublime is infinite. For example, the beauty of the nature is infinite. There is no end to it. Right. But beauty, it is can be created artificially and that is lower than sublimity. Sublimity is the heightened thought. So that is ultimate. Sublime is a displeasure arising from the inadequacy of imagination. So Immanuel Kant says sublime is a displeasure arising from the inadequacy of imagination. He has given three kinds of sublime, that is awful, lofty and splendid. Okay. So next one is Burke discussed on the sublime, the thought idea of sublime. Painful idea creates a sublime passion, sublimity of terror. He calls it sublimity of terror. So painful ideas also create a sublimity, a passion of sublimity. Sublime concentrates the mind on a single facet of experience, producing a momentary suspension of rational activity. We stop thinking how it has come from something, how it is created. So we forget all of a sudden and we start to enjoy, whether it is pain or happiness, whatever. Then harsh, antisocial masculine representations exist in the realm of obscurity and brute force. So this is study of Edmund Burke on the concept of sublime. So next, contemporary sublime. Contemporary sublime is also there. We don't feel sublime and we don't study the concept of sublime only in the classical works and but also in contemporary times. Sublime related to experience of modern life through the incredible power of technology. For example, just jumping from the space towards the earth. Just imagine that feeling, that speed. So the that feeling of astronaut. So that is what sublimity. Extraordinary speed is there. We can't even imagine. Sometimes we fail to feel that also. So that is what contemporary sublime. For example, roller coaster. So that is technology. They used technology to give such a speed. Fraction of seconds you are traveling for miles, kilometers. So that is what sublimity in contemporary times experiencing through technology. Ex- Extreme space-time comprehensions as a result of globalized communication technologies also. Everyday life seems destabilizing and excessive. Here, sublime blends into terror. See, an astronaut is flying towards the earth from the space. So we can see just is a piece of paper from here flying over on our head. So contemporary sublime is also there. We can see through technology. I hope you understand the concept of sublimity or concept of sublime that is discussed by Longinus. Thank you so much.